there's a story that I wanted to tell you, and I think I've been putting it off for far too long to tell you this, and it's quite a difficult thing for me to talk about. Not many people actually know. I haven't told that many people about this, but it all goes back to when I was 17, and as you would know if you have watched my previous videos, I have been a quadriplegic since I was 17 from a few years of bad choices and then getting drunk and falling off a roof. And to tell this part of my story, I just have to go back a few weeks prior to my accident. I lived upstairs above the laundromat, around the corner from the laundromat and the hairdressers in Molong, and I was upstairs once. This was when I was living by myself. I was upstairs, I was sitting, I think I was watching TV, and I heard a noise. Scared the shit out of me. Went outside, looked around, went out onto my balcony, looked around, nothing, and then somebody jumped out and scared the bejesus out of me. It was a guy that I knew from school and knew that he lived in Molong too, and he was a little bit drunk, and he had his friend was downstairs, and he went downstairs to let his friend in, and we were just sitting there drinking, and then he brought out the weed, the marijuana, and we got a little bit drunker and drunker, and then higher and higher and higher, and then we were pretty much shit-faced and stoned. And I would not condone this. It is not a good thing to do, believe me. It is. I had done weed before when I think I was 15 maybe, when I'd done it before, and it's probably not the best thing to get into, and I'm very against drugs now, but at this point his friend got the shits with us because we were just ignoring him, and then his friend left, and then we got shit-faced, ended up on my bed, and one thing led to another, and we did it without a condom because I was so wasted that, you know, you say, won't happen to me. You know, that it takes that one time, and believe me, that's all it took. That was the first time I'd ever done it without a condom, and that's all it took. About 2 weeks later, my period was due, and nah, didn't get it. Another week passed, and I crapped myself because my period was never that late, and I went to the pharmacy, I got a pregnancy test, and almost crapped myself when that one line turned into a plus. I was pregnant, and I was 17, and I was really freaked out. I did not know what to do, and then a week after I found out that I was pregnant, it was Christmas time. At this point, I was sort of trying to, I don't really know what I was trying to do. It was still a little bit fuzzy to think back then, because there's about a month of my life around December 2007 is a little bit vague. I can remember a bit of it, and I can remember that Christmas, but I just can't remember about a week after that Christmas. So the Christmas passed, and then came New Year's. Then I had my accident and fell off the roof. I was in an induced coma for 3 weeks and intensive care for 5 weeks. And at this point, the doctors did blood tests, and it said that I was pregnant. So the rest of 2008 passed, and because I'd had damage to my brain, I'd forgotten about a lot of things, and that was the one thing that I really forgot about. I could remember his name, but I didn't know why I could remember his name. So then I think it was the end of 2008, maybe start of 2009, and when I was talking to my mum, and she mentioned it, and everything just came flooding back, and wow, I remembered the feeling of when I peed on the stick and waited for like a minute or however long you're supposed to wait, then looked at it. But I didn't have to wait that long. The second I peed on it, it turned into a plus, so I was pregnant. And I did it twice, same result both times. So what I learnt from that was, one, you do it without a condom, you think, okay, nothing's gonna happen. It's fine, it'll be okay, and it's not gonna happen to me. And you know what? If you're thinking that, it's not gonna happen to me, that's exactly what I said to myself. So there is no surefire way to do it without protection and not get pregnant. So if you're doing it and you are not using protection or are not under birth control or anything, and you think the pull-out method is going to work, pull-out method doesn't work either. I have a friend who has a 4-year-old child from the pull-out method, so believe me, it doesn't work. I hope my story has not turned into a preaching. I was more meaning it for educational purposes. It is quite a difficult thing for me to talk about, especially the fact that the entire world can see this now. But I'm open to it, and I thought that by telling my story and letting other people know that it might help somebody, it might change somebody's mind. If you're drunk, tipsy, stoned, anything, being drunk or being stoned, it changes your perception. It does not change what can happen. I am a quadriplegic now, but I can still have children if I choose to in the future. I think it'd be a great thing, but definitely not when I was 17. I was not ready. So most of the girls that were in my year at school, probably about 50% of them ended up pregnant at a very, very, very young age. So I can't preach to that. I can't say, oh, well, aren't they stupid? Because you know what? I did exactly the same thing. In my story, I hope there is something that can help you or help anybody who might be watching this. I'm sorry if my story is a little bit vague and fuzzy, but it's quite a difficult thing to talk about, especially to a camera lens. I know how different it feels when I am on the other side and I am watching somebody else talking to the camera. It feels very different, but when you're talking to the camera, I don't see you, I see a camera lens, and it's quite difficult, especially talking about that, because I'm pretty much just sitting here talking to myself. That's all for now, and I'll see you guys next time. Ciao.